These are the 3 stages to getting a green card for your Colombian spouse. My name is Camilo Rincon. I'm an attorney. We have offices in the US and in Colombia to be able to guide you during the entire immigration process. So, if you're a US citizen and you're already married to your Colombian spouse, or you're going to get married to your Colombian spouse before starting the process, and your spouse lives outside of the US, the process is going to be called either the CR1 or the IR1. Now, I highlight this because there are other options. So if you're a US citizen and you would rather get married in the US, there are things like the fiancé visa, or another variation is if your spouse is already on US soil, the process is different and it's called an adjustment of status. But again, in this explanation, we're going to focus on 3 things. Let's assume you're a US citizen. We're going to assume you're either already married or you're going to get married before starting the process. And we're going to assume that your Colombian spouse is outside of the US. So again, it would be called a CR1 or an IR1. The difference in names, CR1 versus IR1, is based on how long you've been married. Recent marriages are called CR1s. If you've been married for a while, it's going to be called an IR1. All right. So stage 1 of this 3-part review that's going to go on before the green card gets approved is going to be with USCIS. That's the immigration service, and everyone calls it USCIS. The main form that you have to file with them is the I-130. All right. So that's the main form. In that form, you would have to verify that you're a US citizen, that you're legally married to your Colombian spouse. And there are other forms that you have to submit depending on the case. Each case is particular, but sometimes you submit power of attorneys. Sometimes you submit authorization for payment to USCIS. Sometimes you would submit forms in order for them to e-notify you, meaning for them to either send you emails or texts to confirm that they're working on the case. But the main form is going to be the I-130 and the supplement, which is the I-130A. All right. Depending on how you file the application, there are 2 options as of 2026. One is to mail it to them, and physical mail you mail to them. If you do that, it's a $675 fee. Or the other option is to submit it via their online platform, where you upload the documents and you submit it via the platform. If you do it based on that second option, the platform option, they'll give you a $50 discount. All right. Now, what they're going to look at, the main focus of this initial review is they want to see evidence that proves to them that you have a real marriage. So they're going to want to see photographs. They're going to want to see maybe itineraries from your visits. If you've traveled to see your spouse, or they've traveled to visit you, they might want to see boarding passes. So again, there's going to be a bunch of evidence that you can submit, but the main focus is going to be proving to them that you have a real marriage. All right. That initial review as of 2026 is taking about a year. And that's, once again, assuming that you're a US citizen, because residents or green card holders can also petition for spouses, but the process is going to be slower. All right. So as of right now, it's going to be about a year review for that initial stage to take place. Once that review is done, the immigration service only has 3 options. Option 1, which is what everyone wants, is the approval, where they say, congratulations, stage 1 has been approved. Option 2 is where they say, look, we need more evidence. That's called a request for evidence. Now, a request for evidence is not terrible, but it's also not ideal, because it just means that they didn't get enough documentation in order for that case to be approved. So they're going to request more things, and that just slows things down. So again, requests for evidence are not terrible, but they're not ideal either. Last option is a notice of intent to deny. So that's when they're telling you, look, we intend on denying this case because we detected something very, very serious. So that's obviously terrible news. So let's assume that the case gets approved, which is wonderful. They would send it to the second agency. It's called the National Visa Center. Everyone calls it the NVC. So the second agency now is not part of the Immigration Service. Now it's part of the Department of State. So that gets a little confusing. And on top of all the confusion, what's really weird is they're going to assign a new number to your case. So your case is going to start out with a certain filing number or case number. Once it gets to the second agency, it's going to get another case number. Most of the time, if the interview is going to happen in Bogota, the second case number that's going to get assigned starts with BGT. BGT stands for Bogota. That way they'll know this case will conclude with an interview at the embassy in Bogota. So stage 2, as of right now, what they're charging you is $440 for that review. And what they're going to review are things like financial stability of the household. The US citizen has to prove that they have financial stability, or that they can find a joint sponsor. The other thing that they're going to look at are things like criminal history. Now they're going to look to see if your Colombian spouse has had problems with the law. If they've ever had issues with immigration, they're also going to request immigration records. Now, the good news about stage 2 is that the review is a lot shorter. All right. Now, on to stage 3. If stage 2 gets approved, it's called a DQ, documentarily qualified. That lets us know that stage 2 has been successfully completed. They would send it on to the embassy for the interview. Now, the issue here, at least as of right now with Colombia, is that they impose an interview. So the third stage is going to be the interview. We don't get to pick it. The applicant doesn't get to pick it. The embassy will impose it. The embassy will send out an email with sufficient time, probably a few weeks or about a month prior to the interview, saying, we found an interview time available. Please, you have to come on this date, on this time for your interview. Now, again, that's the third stage, the embassy process and the interview process. At that third stage, there are 3 things that you have to do before you actually go to the interview. Number 1, you have to schedule fingerprints. Number 2, you have to schedule a medical exam with the doctor. And number 3, you have to confirm that you're really going to attend the interview. So you log onto the platform and let them know that you will attend. Now, at the interview, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions to verify that it's a real marriage. Things could change, but as of right now, the Colombian spouse must attend. The Colombian spouse has to go to the interview. The American spouse doesn't have to go to the interview, but if you want to, you can definitely attend, right? So a lot of people wrongfully assume that either both people have to go or that only one person is allowed to go. So no, Colombian spouse has to go. The American spouse, if you choose to go, you can definitely go. All right. So again, those are the 3 stages in order for that immigrant visa or the green card to be approved. Immigration, stage 1, National Visa Center, stage 2, embassy, stage 3. Now, as of early 2026, there's an issue where 75 countries, including Colombia, have been paused in terms of getting approvals, and that would happen at the last stage. But hopefully the Immigration Service and the embassies will resolve that quickly. But again, 3 stages: USCIS, National Visa Center, embassy. Now, if you want help with your case, feel free to reach out. Once again, my name is Camilo Rincon. We will be happy to help.